My name is Linda Sanders. I'm 33 years old. That night, at our 10-year wedding anniversary party held at a luxury resort in Palm Heights, it felt like I was floating in a dream. White silk draped over every table. Warm golden lights bathed the room in a soft glow. The clinking of champagne glasses echoed in rhythm, weaving through the laughter of guests in tuxedos and glittering gowns. I sat at the center of it all, celebrated, adored, the woman this night was thrown to honor. Aaron, my husband, had called it a vow renewal gift. He hadn't let me in on a single detail. Just told me, wear something beautiful and be on time. You'll be surprised. So I wore the cream white silk dress he once picked out for me during a trip to Chicago. My hair in a sleek bun, lips brushed with soft rose. I stepped into the ballroom feeling like royalty, heart fluttering but beneath the surface. Something gnawed at me, a cold intuition I didn't dare name. Midway through dinner, Aaron stood up and clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. "Linda," he smiled, "you've walked with me through 10 years, and I think it's time we start fresh." I tilted my head, unsure what he meant. "I've prepared something special, a vow renewal ceremony, but this time someone else will be joining me." The music stopped. A side door near the stage swung open, and then Rachel stepped out, not as a coordinator, not as a friend there to celebrate. She walked in wearing a wedding dress, not just any wedding dress, my wedding dress, the exact gown I wore 10 years ago when I married Aaron. I had folded it carefully, preserved it like a sacred memory, and tucked it away in the attic. And now it was on her flawless, every stitch in place. Rachel, my best friend for over a decade, stepped onto the stage, eyes glimmering with calculated sparkle. She smiled and gripped Aaron's hand. "Aaron hasn't been able to be himself for years," she said clearly into the mic. "But now he can. Thank you, Linda, for keeping his seat warm for me all this time." My body went still. At first, the room was silent, frozen. Then came the applause. A few people whistled. Others gave me looks, pitying, embarrassed. Some couldn't hide the fascination like they were watching a live betrayal unfold on Broadway. Aaron pulled Rachel close, whispered something into her ear, then turned to me. "This is what I should have done a long time ago." And then, louder, "You live in some idealistic world, Linda. I need someone real, someone who makes me feel alive." It was a punch straight to the chest, but I didn't cry. I turned and walked out. No one tried to stop me. I passed through the lobby as the music came back on. They played "Marry Me," the same song I had chosen for our wedding ceremony. I drove away from the resort and pulled into an empty lot near the shoreline. The streetlights in the distance flickered like shallow breath. I leaned forward, resting my head on the steering wheel. No sobbing, no screaming, no dramatic breakdown. Just one quiet question echoing in my mind. How did she get that dress? Who helped her, Aaron? Did she sneak into my house? And then another thought. If they could humiliate me in public like that, then I could make the world turn its back on them too. Not by crying, not by begging. I looked into the rearview mirror. Linda Sanders, the gentle wife, the model school teacher, was gone. Only Linda remained, the woman who had just lost everything and was about to take it all back. 2 days after the party, I woke up in a damp motel room, sunlight bleeding through dusty, wrinkled curtains. The first message I got that morning wasn't an apology. It was a TikTok link. I clicked, and there I was. A video capturing the moment Rachel stepped out in my wedding dress, hand in hand with Aaron. Romantic music playing. The caption read, "When real love has no room for lies." Real love. Wedding surprise. Over 1 million views in 24 hours. The comments were like knives. His ex-wife probably had no warmth, no appeal. Why would anyone cling to a man who doesn't love them? She looks like a forgotten wax statue. I stared at the screen. The shame didn't feel like heartbreak. It felt like suffocation. Rachel had tagged me in the post with a sugary little note. wishing Linda nothing but true happiness. I didn't respond. I deleted my Facebook, shut down my Instagram, removed my LinkedIn, but it wasn't fast enough. The next day, the principal at the elementary school where I taught called me in. Linda, a few parents have requested the board reevaluate your standing because my husband cheated on me. No one said that, but the community is talking. Social media has power. For now, we'll need you to step away from the classroom. I let out a bitter laugh. A decade of teaching kids, spotless records. And this was how it ended, suspended, because I got publicly humiliated. I walked out of that school with an empty tote and a folder full of perfect evaluations. No one defended me. Coworkers avoided eye contact. A few looked at me like I was damaged goods, pathetic and beyond repair. When I got home, the garage door was cracked open. Took me a second to realize Aaron had taken my car. A text popped up from him. I think we should split things like adults. I'm keeping the house, since I paid most of the mortgage. You should move out. Rachel will be moving in. My throat clenched. Rachel. In my house. On my bed. Cooking in my kitchen. I didn't text back. I packed in 3 hours, 2 suitcases, a few boxes of books, an old guitar, and our wedding photo, which I quietly tore in half and dropped in the trash by the front door. As I closed it behind me for the last time, Rachel stepped out of a brand new Range Rover. She glanced at me and smiled. Linda, you don't have to look at me like that. In the end, it's not my fault he fell in love with me. I stood tall. You're right. You didn't steal my husband. You just took your mask off. And I walked away. Didn't look back. I found a cheap room in the next city over. Moldy air, a bed with a dip in the middle, a toilet that hissed through the night. But that evening, I lay still in the dark, phone in hand, scrolling past post after post, calling Rachel an inspiration and Aaron a brave man living his truth. And I realized something. The world doesn't side with what's right. It sides with whoever tells the better story. That's the moment I woke up for real. I was no longer the victim. I would learn how to rewrite my own story, not through pity, but through a journey so undeniable. Everything they took from me would come back tenfold. But where would I start? That question looped through my mind until my fingers, almost on autopilot, typed into Google, how to turn your personal story into a brand. I read every word on that page, and I knew. This might just be the first door. My apartment was on the 3rd floor of an aging building, the kind where every wooden stair moaned beneath your feet. Outside my window was a dust-covered parking lot, and below me, a Mexican restaurant that filled the air each day with the scent of grilled onions and charred meat. The place was cramped, suffocating, unfamiliar. But it was mine. Every morning, I got up at 5, made coffee using a $10 machine I bought off Facebook Marketplace. Then I wrote, not a sob story memoir, but scattered reflections on what a woman, pushed to the bottom, could do with her life. I posted anonymously on a free blog, no pictures, no names, just a voice in the dark. And then, something unexpected happened. One post, titled, I Lost My Husband at Our Anniversary Party and Learned How Not to Cry About It, reached over 100,000 views in just 3 days. Comments poured in from women of all ages I was betrayed to, and I'm still stuck. You give me hope. How did you stay so calm? I want to learn that. Please don't stop writing. We need your voice. I sat there, watching those words appear on the screen, eyes burning. None of them knew who I was, but they heard me. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel invisible. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't just share my story. I'd learn how to own it. I went online and searched how to write inspirational content professionally, how to build a personal brand from scratch, social media content for people starting with nothing. And I discovered an entire world out there, people turning their pain into lessons, into communities, into tools for survival. So I started learning. The first online courses I enrolled in, emotional storytelling in digital media, content strategy for creators, personal branding from scratch. I studied at night after working 8-hour shifts at a small local bookstore. Every dollar I made went into rebuilding myself. I didn't have a powerful computer, no fancy mic, no professional lighting, but I had one thing: the will to come back, and one desire to rewrite my life, but this time I would be the author. Then, an unexpected mentor reached out to me by email. Her name was Marla Donovan, a content strategist who used to work for a major media company in I read your blog. There's something in your voice, something that makes people stop. I can help you turn your stories into something that matters. I almost didn't believe her. I have nothing, no following, no platform. She replied with just one line: "That's exactly why you're perfect. You're starting with nothing but the truth." With Marla's guidance, I launched a new blog and Instagram page under the name The Silent Rise. Simple black and white logo. No flashy images, just honest, short form pieces. No selfies, no filters. But the voice was mind sharp, clear, unflinching. 3 months in, I had 10,000 followers. 6 months in, a nonprofit reached out. They were running a campaign to raise awareness about emotional abuse, and they wanted my voice. They didn't know my name. They just knew I spoke the language of pain. I signed my first contract, $5,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was the first time I earned money that wasn't from teaching, wasn't from a safe, known world. It came from the rawest, most broken part of me, and I realized a story, when framed with power, stops being a burden. It becomes leverage. I hadn't thought about revenge. Not yet, but I knew when the moment came, I wouldn't have to scream, because by then I'd have a stage, and they wouldn't even have a seat. In my notebook, I crossed out one name, Linda Sanders, the end, and beneath it, I wrote L.S. Monroe, the beginning. The name L.S. Monroe was becoming a familiar signature in the circles of women who had been betrayed, shamed into silence, and trapped in the hollow shadows of dead marriages. Me, the woman who once couldn't bear to post a photo of herself after the divorce, was now sitting in a shared office space in Brooklyn, crafting content for media campaigns worth tens of thousands of dollars. No one knew I used to be Linda Sanders. I didn't need them to. That name now lived quietly on the corner of my ID, no longer the headline of who I was. After my first round of online courses, I dove deeper. I didn't study the way people casually learn things. I buried myself in it, determined to become damn good. I enrolled in a professional program called Strategic Content for Digital Brands, hosted by an Austin-based agency led by former content leads from global brands. Our first assignment: write a personal story that a reader can't scroll past without connecting. I rewrote the night of the anniversary party, but this time there were no tears, no trembling, just clean, cold words. Like surgical steel, it ended with a single line: "I walked out of that party a failure and came back a media system." The class went silent when I finished reading. The instructor didn't critique it. He just said, "I don't know who you are, but don't stop. That voice is worth paying for." From there, I started freelancing small projects: captions, content scripts for influencers, storytelling strategies for women-led startups. I read everything from Nike's brand playbooks to breakdowns of Dove's Real Beauty campaign. I didn't want to be some sob story blogger. I wanted to control the narrative. I wanted to be the one writing the media script, not the woman written about. Then one day, Marla emailed me. "There's a media agency hiring for a new campaign, Reclaim Her Voice, about women publicly shamed. Want in?" I Googled the agency. It was owned by Brandcore, a media group that worked with fashion giants, beauty conglomerates, legal firms, and yes, the same network Aaron had just joined. I smiled. It felt like destiny had just turned on the spotlight. I applied. No old resume, just a link to The Silent Rise and 2 portfolio pieces I'd ghostwritten as Monroe. 3 days later, I got the interview. They didn't know I was Linda. didn't recognize the name Sanders, the former middle school English teacher. They saw a woman with steel in her eyes, precision in her language, and an uncanny understanding of what wounded women wanted to hear. They hired me as the lead content strategist. After the first meeting, I was handed a document, a list of influencers, guests, and potential collaborators for the campaign. Line 17, Rachel Winters. Role educator, motivational speaker. PR note, high viral potential. Known for her love conquers all narrative. I laughed out loud. Love conquers what? Exactly, public adultery. That's what we're branded now, but I kept my face composed. Clicked approve. Now wasn't the time to block her. It was time to put her in the spotlight, as bright as possible, and wait. A week later, I was assigned to lead the pre-production meeting for the campaign shoot. Conference room, 27th floor, skyline view of Manhattan through glass walls. I arrived early, opened the presentation slides, adjusted the mic. A production assistant leaned in and whispered, "Special guest just confirmed. Rachel will be attending in person." I straightened my blazer, smoothed my hair. When the doors opened, Rachel walked in backlit by the afternoon sun like some fallen angel in designer heels. She looked at me, paused, squinted. You look familiar. Have we met?" I smiled. "Maybe, but don't worry, I'm just the one. Setting the stage for you today?" She nodded, smirking, and strutted in like she owned the room. I watched her, not with rage, with calm. I didn't need to scream at her. Didn't need to slap her or call her names. All I needed was control of the spotlight. And that's exactly what I had, one step at a time. Rachel Winters' name lit up every campaign dashboard during the first week. Her intro video, where she tearfully spoke about the inner battle of a woman just trying to live true to her heart, hit 2.4 million views in under 48 hours. The press dubbed her the new voice of vulnerability. And me, I was right behind the editing screen, typing captions, crafting campaign messages, building scripts designed to go viral. What no one realized was that the very script I wrote for this campaign was the blade I was slowly twisting into the persona she was desperately trying to sell. I started digging. Every trace of Rachel, her past as a teacher, her current media gigs became a breadcrumb. One night, I stumbled upon a post on a private parent forum. An anonymous mom shared how Rachel once suggested she move her child to a different school so their low GPA wouldn't hurt Ivy League chances. I thought she meant well, until I found out she told the same thing to 3 other parents and offered private consulting for a steep fee. I saved it, screenshotted everything. At the same time, I reached out to one of Rachel's former college dorm mates, someone recently dropped by a PR agency Rachel used to collaborate with. When I brought up Rachel's name, she sneered. "She's great at building a brand, but everyone who lived with her knows Rachel builds her image by tearing other people apart and gluing their pieces onto her mask." I didn't need criminal charges. I just needed moral cracks. And I had plenty. I compiled a dossier, audio clips of Rachel bragging about how to milk emotions from an audience with just the rat tears, evidence of soft manipulation in her teaching past, behind-the-scenes photos of her barking orders at staff, rolling her eyes, laughing the moment the cameras shut off. I didn't post any of it. Not yet. I kept building her up, wrote more pieces that made the public love her, stories that painted her as the guilt-ridden second wife who never wanted to hurt anyone. I lined up podcast interviews, small talk show appearances carefully, methodically, so the audience would get used to the mask. Then, when it was strong enough, I pulled the pin, one anonymous email at a time, leaked like slow poison, an audio clip, a backstage photo, a testimonial from a former parent. The internet lost its mind. Rachel the Fraud hit #1 trending on Twitter for 18 straight hours. The hashtag #RealRachelIsFake blew up on TikTok. Brands scrambled. A major beauty label deleted all posts with her image. One released a statement, partnership temporarily suspended pending review. Rachel melted down during an internal meeting, screaming, slamming her phone on the table, eyes bloodshot. I sat across from her, calmly taking notes. Who did this? Who's trying to destroy me? She shrieked. I looked up, steady. That's the price of fame. Rachel, when you choose to live in the spotlight, you better be ready for every shadow to be exposed. She stared at me, her gaze sharpened. I didn't flinch. There was a flicker behind her eyes, a flicker of doubt, of fear. Who are you? She whispered. Me, I'm just the person in charge of managing your image, and I'd say it's collapsing rather nicely. Rachel stormed out, heels pounding like fireworks diving into a canyon. I stayed seated, opened my laptop, typed the headline, redefining a symbol when the story becomes a boomerang. The body of the email read, "No one sabotaged her. She's just being reflected for what she really is." I hit send to every media outlet that had once sung her praises. I didn't need to say who I was because by now, she knew. 3 days after the Reclaim Her Voice campaign was pulled from every major platform, Rachel was officially dropped from all media engagements. Brandcorp released a cold, clinical press statement. We are committed to truth and transparency. Recent conflicting information surrounding a featured guest has damaged community trust. We apologize and will be restructuring. No defense, no spin. Rachel was thrown off the stage faster than she'd climbed it. She texted me. The first message came from a private number. Rachel, who are you? Please, if I've ever done something wrong, I'm sorry, but don't destroy everything I've built. Please. I stared at the screen, remembering her standing on that wedding stage in my dress, calling it true love. I didn't respond. The second message came the following night, past midnight. It's you, isn't it? Linda Still. I said nothing. I had returned what she stole from me, only now magnified, dissected, and broadcast beneath the unforgiving gaze of millions. I didn't need to say I'm Linda. She knew. And I was certain Aaron knew too, because right around the time Rachel's world began to collapse, I received an email from him. Cold. Generic. Subject line. Regarding recent circulating information. The body. If anything you're doing is contributing to harm against the family's reputation, I urge you to reconsider. I have documentation of my own. I don't want this to escalate. I laughed. Family. He called that pile of betrayal a family. I sent a single-line reply. What's already collapsed can't be saved by threats. Right after. I forwarded a 26-page file to an investigative journalist I'd once declined. She had contacted me when Reclaim Her Voice was still peaking, asking for an interview. I wasn't ready then. But now I was. The file included evidence of Rachel manipulating student grades, proof of Aaron's tax evasion through a shell company named after Rachel's birthday, and a never-before-seen clip Aaron, drunk, at the anniversary party, telling a friend Linda's the kind of woman who never stands out. She's perfect as a background for women like Rachel to shine. The footage came from a media crew he had hired that night. They didn't know the mic was still hot. The expose dropped Monday morning prime time. Headlines splashed across the Society and Public Figures section. Beautiful love, dirty money, and the collapse of a couple, once celebrated as courageous. Below it, a photo of Rachel sobbing into her steering wheel. Aaron declined interviews. His lawyer issued a bland statement. We are reviewing appropriate legal responses. No one knew I was behind it. I still showed up to the office, still worked, still edited drafts for clients. Only one person reached out. Marla, she texted, it was you. Wasn't it? I replied, I didn't destroy anyone. I just did what media teaches us to do. Tell the story, put the subject in the light, and let the audience decide who they really are that weekend. I stood in front of the mirror, short hair, black blazer, a cold face, Steel eyes, no trace of the woman once called Linda Sanders. I wasn't the school teacher whose husband left her. I wasn't the TikTok victim. I was the one who built the system, who wrote the script, who controlled the lights, and knew exactly when to shut them off. They once said I wasn't enough to stand out. I smiled, whispered to myself, the background may not shine, but it's what holds the whole scene together. And when it wants to, it can vanish beneath anyone's feet. A month after the expose went live, everything unfolded exactly as I had predicted, and exactly as I used to dream during sleepless nights in that tiny motel room. Rachel vanished from social media. No more inspirational videos. No more glossy photos with Aaron on yachts or behind podcast mics. She was dropped by every brand partner. The online world turned its back like it had never cheered her on. Worse, her old school was dragged into an ethics investigation. And Aaron, the IRS, came knocking. Those so-called strategic legal consulting payments to RW Consulting, nothing more than covert gifts to Rachel, were being tracked. They both stayed silent, but reputation, once lost, can't be reclaimed with a half-hearted apology. As for me, I stayed the course. Continued leading projects at the agency, now as a senior content director. More requests than ever rolled in. People sought out Leo S. Monroe as a new standard of storytelling, sharp, disciplined, and ruthlessly effective. Then one day, an invitation landed in my inbox. Women in Brandon, Chicago, an elite conference for the industry's most influential voices. Marla sent the link herself. It's time. No more hiding. I thought it over for days. Then I chose a black velvet dress, fitted, high-necked, elegant, short, neat hair, subtle makeup, no red lips, no statement necklace, just me. Clean, grounded, unapologetic. On stage, I stepped forward to polite applause from over 300 attendees. The screen behind me read, "Redefining Power, When Silence Becomes Strategy." I stood still, no tremble, not one skipped heartbeat. 3 years ago, I was betrayed, publicly, in front of friends, family, the entire internet. No one defended me. No one asked how I felt. I chose not to scream, not to slander. I disappeared to rebuild not just myself, but a voice I never knew I had. The room was silent. In the front row, I saw a young woman, eyes glassy, holding her friend's hand, nodding slowly. I went on. I never named names. I didn't accuse. I didn't expose. I simply did what every one of us has the right to do. I reclaimed my story, and I ended with this: "Thank you for listening. I'm Linda Sanders, and I was never canceled. I was just rewriting my part." Applause broke out, scattered at first, then rising, wave after wave. Some stood, some filmed, some just cried quietly, holding each other. That night, the clip of my speech spread like wildfire. Headline after headline, "The Woman Behind L.S. Monroe. A redemption story, like no other. She didn't use knives. She used her words. And she burned it all down." Publishers reached out. Brands offered partnerships. But the most unexpected message, an email from a former student, "Ms. Sanders, I can't believe it's really you. I still have the essay you graded once. You wrote, 'Write like you're the only one who understands this world. Thank you for coming back. You helped me realize I can write a new chapter too.' I read it again and again. Then type just 3 words, 'You can.' Always." 1 year later, my first book was published, The Silent Rise: How One Woman Took Back Her Voice and Erased Every Lie. The cover didn't show my face, just a smudged lipstick mark across a printed page, and the inscription, "For anyone who was pushed down and stood back up without waiting for applause." Rachel vanished from public life. Aaron quietly exited law, sold his firm after the probe. No one talks about them anymore. And me, I still work, still write, still build, but not to prove anything to anyone. I write because I'm no longer afraid of losing my voice. I'm Linda Sanders, and I'm the one who rewrote the ending.